Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community. The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great show for you today, including a talk with Bob Burke about a new biography of Oklahoman John Nichols. But first, Joyce McCauley Johnson is going to tell Susie Beasley about a great book.
Joyce, what is this book about, Leaving Cecil Street by Joyce McKinney Whetstone?
This book takes place in 1969 in Philadelphia, back when people had parties.
Kind of like house parties, block parties?
Block parties.
Okay, back in the day.
Back in the day. Okay. And, you know, they would get together and party, and if someone needed help with paying their rent, then they would, you know, the neighbors would pitch in and help
their
each
resources.
other.
So give me some idea about the characters in Leaving Cecil Street.
Well, it starts out with this lady named Ducey. She leaves a mental institution, and she had given up her daughter when she was born at birth. And she was going to Cecil Street to find her daughter.
Right.
And Ducey didn't have any clothes on when she left the mental institution.
She had no clothes on?
No clothes on.
Okay, all right.
And she camped out in Joe and his wife's house in their basement.
Right.
And she lived out in this basement for several weeks, just trying to get up enough nerve to go and find her daughter.
Right.
And she didn't know it, but she was at the house right next door to where her daughter lived.
So that sets the whole tone for Leaving Cecil Street, because she arrived there.
Yeah.
And so you got a whole cornucopia of all these characters that she's going to encounter. So what happens next?
And what happens is, they have the block party, and she listens to all this music, you know, from the block party. Several things happens in this book. Joe and his wife, they have conflicts. The wife has some problems with her mouth, and she needs to have some dental work done. And,
just all kind of things, day-to-day life.
Yeah,
day-to-day life. So with Diane McKinney Whetstone, she has written some other titles, right?
Yes, she wrote Tumbling.
And she also wrote Blues Dancing.
Blues Dancing.
And most of her things are set in Philly.
Yeah, in Philadelphia.
So you've got the Philly sound as far as the music, and you've got the drama of all these different characters. So what did you really think about the book? Would you recommend it?
I would.
Yeah.
People in my age group would relate to this book, you know, because of the music and the setting.
Memories.
Yeah, bring back memories.
Well, Joyce, we really appreciate you coming and sharing with us Leaving Cecil Street by Diana McKinney Whetstone. This is a brand new title. It's available at your local library, your local bookstore. We'll see you next time.
Oh, it is wet, and the sun is not sunny.
Hi, my name is Jose Jimenez of your Metropolitan Library Commission. You know, most experts tell us that if you just spend 20 minutes a day reading to your child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're also preparing that child to learn how to read. Check with the experts at your Metropolitan Library for suggestions on just the right books for you and your family. And visit us at our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
With me now is Doug Benton, and Doug, you know the holiday season is upon us.
Yep.
You've noticed.
I have noticed.
Well, just in case you haven't planned your annual Christmas party yet.
My annual Christmas party.
Your annual Christmas, don't you give monthly parties?
It's more like a centennial Christmas party.
Centennial Christmas party. Well, I have a book for people who haven't got theirs planned yet, or are thinking that they would like to do something but don't know where to start and don't have a lot of money.
Okay.
And that is Budget Living Magazine has put out a book called Party Central. And it is a really neat book. It goes month by month, so there are 12 parties in there. They're all inexpensive. They all have recipes. They have shopping lists. They tell you how to plan a theme, how to do invitations. There's even a section at the beginning of the book on, how to get ready in general for parties, how to stock a bar, that sort of thing. But it has a wedding reception in there that is for 100 people and only costs $1,000. And a Christmas party for 15 people for $100. So we're talking real budget living.
So if people brought you lots of presents out of that,
right,
you could actually make something off that party.
You really could. Nice. And have fun too, partly because all the planning's done for you. You don't have to, oh my gosh, what am I going to feed these people? But it does take a kind of lighthearted approach to planning parties. And the recipes are simple, they are easy to do, they're nothing that you have to start a week in advance. And even if you don't follow the themes, I think looking through the book would spark some ideas of your own, also help you a little bit on, okay, now you've got everybody here, the food looks good, everybody's having drinks, now what do we do? There are even suggestions for games and icebreakers and that sort of thing that adults would enjoy.
Twister.
No Twister.
No, okay.
I'm sorry, this is much more elegant than that, Doug. Much more elegant than that. But it is a handy book for people who want to throw an inexpensive party at any time of the year. So I would recommend that. And when you get exhausted from that the morning after, and you want a little entertainment that's not going to strain your brain, you can look at Bucky Catt's big book of Get Fuzzy. That's a comic.
I think I'm going to sleep.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
right.
Okay, what?
It's a comic strip. It's syndicated nationally, and it's a young man and his crazy cat and his really dumb dog. And I connect with it because I've got a crazy cat. So. But this is a collection of what's been in the newspapers for very, very light entertainment. Well, coming up next, we have Kids Corner, and Fran Harbert is going to be talking with Kelly Rhea about a book for our young adults.
Hello, and with us today is Fran Harbert. She's the children's librarian at Del City Library, and we're so happy that she could be here today. Fran, you brought a great book. Can you tell me the name of it?
It's United Tates of America.
The United Tates of America, and it's written by Paula Danziger.
Yes.
And you brought it because...
Well, it's one of the Sequoia books. The Sequoia Award is one that the Oklahoma Library Association presents each year, and it's a long-standing, highly esteemed award. The United Tates of America is on this year's reading list. Students in Oklahoma read the books from the list, and then they vote on the winner.
Wow, that must be great. So this is on the list because
it was fun. And it was selected by a committee, members from the Oklahoma Library Association. The Tates that are in the book are a family. There's a mother and a dad, and then two daughters. The older daughter is Sarah, but she is called Skate Tate.
Oh, okay.
And she's the main character, and she tells the story. And it starts about the time of year when school starts, and goes along, and she has friends in the story, and interesting people.
Well, it looks like almost a travel book.
Well, there is some travel in it. The family does have a vacation, and they go along and tell different parts of the vacation.
Now, there's a character in the book called Gum.
Yes, Gum is Skate's uncle.
Oh.
And she loves him dearly. He doesn't live with them, but he does come and go throughout the story. And he does make possible the vacation that the family takes.
Oh, so he's a special guy, and he makes things happen.
Yes.
Excellent. There's something about boys acting like ducks.
Yes. There are three boys. Skate encounters them in the very first chapter. They quack, they waddle, they flap their wings, and she goes down on the bus, gets on the bus, and here they come down the aisle quacking and carrying on, and all through the book, there they are, quacking and waddling.
There's so many fabulous parts of this book, and it's for kids ages?
It's in our section for 5th and 6th graders.
5th and 6th graders. We hope that you'll look for this book, The United Tates of America by Paula Danziger. You can find it at your local bookstore or at your favorite library.
Well, Doug is back with me again, and Doug, it looks like you've got something kind of interesting there.
Well, I thought it was interesting. It's a new mystery story called The London Blitz Murders. It's by Max Allan Collins, who has been called the Renaissance man of the contemporary mystery story. Collins has created comic book characters. He took over writing the Dick Tracy comic strip when Chester Gould retired. He did that for almost 20 years, I think. And no longer does it. He's a filmmaker, low-budget independent films. But he is best known as a mystery writer. He wrote the story that the movie Road to Perdition was based on, the Tom Hanks movie a couple of years ago. This book, The London Blitz Murders, is part of a series that's kind of not a series. I mean, it's odd. Collins is a specialist in taking historical crimes and writing fiction around them. He's done a book on the Lindbergh kidnapping case. He did a series of books about gangsters in the 20s. He used Eliot Ness as the hero in several of his novels. This series, they're kind of loosely called the Disaster Mysteries.
Oh, okay.
Not a title that you would want to get stuck with, I think. But each of the books uses a disaster of the 20th century as the centerpiece of the novel, and then the protagonist is a real-life writer. He wrote one called The Pearl Harbor Murders, which featured Edgar Rice Burroughs as the detective. Burroughs was actually in Pearl Harbor at the time of the bombing. He's written one on the Lusitania sinking and the Titanic sinking and the Hindenburg. Well, this is set during the London Blitz, obviously, and his writer detective in this is Agatha Christie.
Oh, really?
Who spent the war years in London working in a pharmacy, a hospital pharmacy. She had been a nurse's assistant. I don't know that she was ever trained as a nurse during the First World War, and so during the Second World War she worked doing the same kind of thing, helping out in the pharmacy while her husband was overseas. In this case, she's dealing with a case of the Blackout Ripper. Now, there really was a sexual serial killer operating in London during the war years, and Christie gets involved with Sir Bernard Spilsbury, who was the great forensic pathologist of that era. Anytime you see these forensic guys on television, the pathologists, Spilsbury really did it, and he did it first. In fact, Collins has written, and I was going to mention this too, he novelizes the CSI series when they come out in book form.
Well, I'm glad you explained that, because I'm afraid the first thing that occurred to me was, how could they tell there were murders in the Blitz?
They could tell, trust me.
Okay.
This guy, it wasn't called the Ripper for nothing.
Okay.
But anyway, it really happened. He takes some liberties, of course, with the facts in order to condense it all into one period, into one area. But it's a fascinating look at the London during the Blitz, and it's a good mystery too.
Okay, The London Blitz Murders.
By Max Allan Collins.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up next, we have M.J. Vandeventer from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She'll be talking with Judge Robert Henry of the 10th District Circuit Court about a book he really enjoyed.
Judge Henry, so nice to have you here today.
It's very good to be here.
And you have a book about Oklahoma by Angie DeBow, and I want to tell you a little story. One of the most memorable interviews I ever did as a newspaper reporter was with Angie DeBow at her little white frame home in Marshall, and you know when you're in the presence of greatness. She was a great person.
Well, when I first went to meet her, I drove into Marshall, and I pulled into a little shop that was there. I think it was kind of a filling station. And I said, "Could you?" And the person said, "Third house on the left." And I said, "You don't even know what I'm going to ask." They said, "You're going to ask me where Angie DeBow lives." And it's right over there. So I think a lot of people came to Marshall to visit her.
That's true. And this book is the first edition, signed
Yes.
by Angie to you,
Right.
and a special book to you.
This is the book about Oklahoma. This is the best single book, I think, that has ever been written about Oklahoma.
Really?
And it tells us all sorts of wonderful things about ourselves, from our passion for sports to our willingness to build schools but not fund them, to our bubbling cauldron of politics that we have, to the arts and what we need to do to make them grow in Oklahoma. It's just truly a remarkable book.
And it looks like you've enjoyed it for a long time.
I have. I finally put a cover on it.
What's the inscription?
She says, "For Robert Henry, who loves and reads books and knows Oklahoma, and how I do appreciate such readers, Angie DeBow."
How nice.
You know, well, as you know, when you went to her little house, it's just a house, very small, very
simple,
full of books, and then just this wonderful person who's Angie DeBow.
What's the most important thing that an Oklahoman can learn from this book?
I think Oklahomans can learn that we need to work on to develop a stronger self-image. For some reason, most people were kind of kicked out of someplace else when they came to Oklahoma. The Indians were illegally forced here, and then people that were wealthy didn't line up to make those land rushes. Those were the falling out, the crowd that had,
And you have a passage that you wanted to share with us.
Well, this is, in this political season that we're in now, she says, "Here's the basic cause of Oklahoma's political turmoil. A people agrarian in outlook and Jacksonian in politics had to cope with industrial problems developing with a speed never before attained in American history. George Milburn expressed this idea more cleverly. Oklahoma is to sociology as Australia is to zoology."
Oh, what a delightful passage. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
My pleasure to be here.
Come back and see us.
I will do so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judge Henry and MJ. And now Bob Burke is on, I'm starting to call the first show of each month the Bob Burke Show.
Okay.
Because we were just talking about the fact that you have written well over 50 books. Most of them about Oklahoma.
All of them about Oklahoma.
All of them about Oklahoma. You're also a full-time lawyer.
Yes.
And in the past, you have played around in politics a little bit, played around in broadcasting a little bit.
I'm really 112 years old.
112 years old. And also, you just received the Governor's Arts Award.
Oh, I'm very pleased about that. Although my ninth grade art teacher, who would say that I was a terrible art student, is probably rolling over in her grave.
Right. Well, I think that it is a well-deserved recognition of the contribution, really, that you have made to Oklahoma heritage and history, and in providing, there are going to be lots of school children and other writers who are going to be very grateful that Bob Burke was here.
Well, there are a lot of stories. Oklahoma's incredible story is not about places and events, but it's about our people. And I love to write biographies. I love to write stories about our people who have contributed so much to make Oklahoma the greatest place in the world.
Well, and one of those is John Nichols, and for some strange reason, you titled the book "Deals, Deals, and More Deals."
Yes, John Nichols is one of the most delightful Oklahomans. He turned 90 last month, and we gave him a big birthday party. He still goes to work every day. And over 50 years ago, he was an accountant here in Oklahoma City and got into the oil business with a $600 investment. And he has parlayed that into Devon Energy Corporation, which is now the state's largest publicly traded company, is larger than Marriott Hotels, Delta Airlines, Nike, a huge company, $26 billion company, that is now the largest independent oil and gas producer in the world. And what a wonderful success story it is. And John is just one of the nicest guys. He and his wife, Mary, have now been married 68 years.
That's a long time.
and John and Mary Nichols are the most delightful Oklahomans I've ever met, I think. They're just a wonderful couple. They have given back substantially to Oklahoma. To several universities in the state and universities outside Oklahoma, but especially in Oklahoma. John and Mary Nichols have been great philanthropists. And I just thought it was a great story because John is probably best known in the oil and gas industry because in 1950, he got approval from the Securities and Exchange Commission of the very first oil and gas drilling program, a funding program approved by the SEC. He took it to the SEC in 1950 and they said, well, should we do drilling programs? And they did, so fund number one. And it was such an exciting fund, he raised about $1.2 million. It turned out so well, and in that he allowed everybody to have $50,000 in it. John Pillsbury of the Pillsbury Doughboy fortune was involved. Barbara Stanwyck, Ginger Rogers, Robert Taylor, because of a connection to Hollywood. I talked to the Pillsbury heirs, one of the grandsons, who said that original $50,000 investment with John Nichols in 1950 pays back here today in 2004 every 3 months. It averages $17,000 a month on a $50,000 investment his grandfather made, which is the most successful oil deal in world history. But I like people to be successful, but it's especially rewarding when you write about someone who is genuinely a godly man, pays his tithes to his church, helps out poor people, helps out his state. It's nice to see somebody who's successful who so genuinely deserves it because they're a good person.
Yeah.
And that's John Nichols, deals, and more deals. I think David Boren, who wrote the foreword to this book, says that John Nichols is one of those rare individuals who has stayed at home, because Devon, headquartered in Oklahoma City, has always stayed here. They've had many opportunities to leave the state, but they've always kept their roots because Larry Nichols, who's John's son, for 30 years has been president or CEO of the company, and Larry has always chosen to leave Devon Energy here, and I appreciate that about people. They make their fortune here and they stay here, and they ought to be applauded for their efforts.
Yeah. Well, he comes across as a very remarkable man. He struck me as a salesman with substance.
Oh, that's why it calls deals, and more deals. Because some of the people who I interviewed for the book would say he would be visiting with a prince in Germany trying to get money for an oil deal in Oklahoma or somewhere in the United States. And that he was so trustworthy that people would just write him a check. Because he'd say, well, this will work out. I can't give you all the details of it, but it'll work out. Because it always had. He had never lied to anyone. So he was able to, especially in the 70s, as Devon Energy was getting really established as a major oil and gas producer in this country, he would simply walk into the offices or homes of princes in Europe and some of the biggest financial investment bankers in Europe and say, I've got this deal in Oklahoma that I think is going to work. Well, based upon his past performance, he was able to walk out of there with millions. So deals, and more deals is certainly an adequate title for this book.
Well, there was one great encounter in there where he had called and was going to see somebody in New York about looking for money overseas on a deal, and the guy was going to see him, I think, because he knew somebody who knew somebody, and he was thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to show up with a 10-gallon hat and cowboy boots and
this is
everything.
cool. Peter Grunenbaum is that guy's name. In fact, John and I flew to New York several months ago, and I got to interview Peter because Peter's still alive, and Peter came from New York, and a guy came from London to John's 90th birthday party last month. People came from all over the world. It was quite an event at the Oklahoma City Golf and Country Club. But Peter had dealt with an oil man from Texas who he didn't trust and who came in with the 10-gallon hat and the boots and everything. So John walks in a suit bought downtown in Oklahoma City at Parks Brothers, or what was I've forgotten the clothing store. It used to be downtown, and looks like a businessman. And so he says, wait a minute, this can't be that oil man from the Southwest. So he immediately trusted him where he did not trust the guy in the 10-gallon hat from Texas.
Well, but he was also surprised, I think they went on to London together, and he was surprised to find out that this guy from Oklahoma had been to London before.
Oh, he knew London better than he did. Oh, sure, yeah, in the same way. Because John had spent many years in Europe developing contacts to fund oil and gas deals in Oklahoma in this part of the country. He got much of his money from Europe during those days. It was the European connection, and John played that well, and his trustworthiness certainly paid off by establishing contacts that Devon still uses today. There's still people, for instance, John was able one time to get $17 million from the royal family of Kuwait through a guy who still sits on the Devon board here in 2004. So those European contacts have stayed true.
And I think that level of sophistication and contacts throughout the world make it even more remarkable that they continue to stay in Oklahoma City.
Oh, absolutely. But that is a tribute to them as a family. The Nichols family is a wonderful family. John and Mary and son Larry and Polly. They love Oklahoma very much, and they have all taken affirmative steps to pass up many opportunities to move the company elsewhere to stay in Oklahoma.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Bob.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be here.
And we're going to see you again next
See you
month.
next month. Okay. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Bob has been telling us about his new book, Deals, Deals, and More Deals. It's available at your library and your favorite bookstore.
Hi, I'm Donna Morris, Executive Director of your Metropolitan Library System. You know, experts tell us it's never too early to begin reading to a child. If you spend just 20 minutes a day reading to a child, you're not only building a bond that lasts a lifetime, but you're helping that child to prepare to learn how to read. Visit us at the Metropolitan Library System and let us help you select just the right books for you and your family. And be sure and visit our website at www.metrolibrary.org.
It's time for the Almanac, and Doug, you were telling me that you've got a couple of real writers for us today.
Real writers, no actors this time, no movie producers or anything like that, a couple of real writers. December 6th is the birthday of Ira Gershwin, born in 1896. Now, Ira was, of course, the brother of George Gershwin, who wasn't a writer, right. But Ira was. He was one of the best lyricists I think this country has produced. Think of the lyrics to those old George Gershwin songs that you like so much, and Ira, I'm sure, was the one who wrote them. Of course, he outlived his brother by many, many years and ended up working with other composers on Broadway shows and movie musicals. A few years ago, a collection of Ira's lyrics were published. And he had always said that you should never confuse my song lyrics with poetry because they're verse. Right. He was very clear about that. But he was very good. He was very good. Anyway, it's his birthday, December 6th. December 8th from 1894 is the birthday of James Thurber. People smile when they hear Thurber's name, and sometimes I wonder why, because he wasn't a very nice guy.
No, he really wasn't.
He was pretty much of a pain, I think. And of course, he's known for being a humorist, but the humor had a
real bite. Yes.
I mean, there was, not that it was mean, but it tended to be kind of melancholy at times, I think. Best known as a writer for The New Yorker and for his collaborations with E.B. White, who got him his job at The New Yorker. Apparently they met at a party and Thurber just talked himself into a job.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. You can find out more about these and anybody else you want to know at the library, www.metrolibrary.org. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again next time.